Welcome to Uncommon Courtesy.
We give you the courtesy of conversation.
That's uncommonly spoke of.
I'm D-Mac,
I'm Wesley.
and this is the show. Yo, breaking news, a helicopter carrying Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi has crashed, but it looks like there's no sign of life at the helicopter site. We're reporting this to you now as it's breaking. He was next in line to be Ayatollah in Iran. Wesley, what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is it's a pretty crazy development, especially right now with everything going on over in the Middle East for them to have this type of a plane helicopter crash. They said because the helicopter was also carrying the foreign minister of Iraq as well. They were coming back from a dam. They had just inaugurated a dam on the border between them and Azerbaijan. And so they were coming back from that inauguration of this dam that was a cross border dam.
Yeah.
And they took it right before the weather was good before they took off. And then they said right when they were up in the air a little bit, the weather started to change a bit all of a sudden. They said they've been having a lot of extreme weather events in that area, rain, heavy rains, and a lot more snow in that area. And there was three helicopters in the convoy.
Really?
Yeah, there's three helicopters in the convoy. It wasn't just them. I saw the helicopter. It looked like one of those, like an old school kind of helicopter. It didn't look like a military grade helicopter or anything like that. It just looked.
Do you know
Like
if all the helicopters crashed or was just the one?
just the one went down. Just the one went down. The other two, from far as I know, they made it back safely. I think they're the ones who radioed in about the helicopter. At first, they had said it was going to go in for like a hard landing.
Yeah.
And then it later kind of changed over to a crash, a crash occurring. It occurred up in a region that's kind of a mountainous region.
Yeah.
And so it made it extremely difficult for any kind of rescue attempts to get up in there because the cars can't really, the trucks couldn't really get up through that terrain, as well as just the terrain in general made it kind of a hard search for them. I guess it was really foggy up around there. I'm not sure why they took the chance on it, but they did. This is a pretty big deal, Rossi.
Yeah, you got to come get him. I mean, like you can't just be like he can't just show back up. You didn't go get him the first day. Like
no, not so much as not going to get him, but just taking the chance on leaving out with the president at the helm.
Yeah,
with the weather, even taking the chance with the weather, should have maybe turned back. I'm not sure. I wasn't there. I don't really know kind of how it went. But
they might just be flying. Hey, let's fly through this weather because it's a lot safer and we won't be seen like that. I mean, who knows what they were doing? But I mean, there could be a lot of things. Like it seems like, his son. I might be slaughtering his name right now, but the Ayatollah's son, Mojtabi.
Mhm.
People thought he was going to be in succession because it looks like he's had his father's ear since 2009,
Yeah,
and they feel like he's kind of semi running the government anyways. So
yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff is coming here out of Iran, especially with their conflict right now with Israel and here in
They,
America. It's going to be
they
very, very interesting.
they got some inner conflict as well because I mean, this man was Rossi was the second most powerful person in the country. He was
Yeah,
one of the. Now he's the president of the country. He ran it for the Ayatollah. He only answered basically to the Ayatollah,
yeah,
and so at the end of the day, right now in Iran, there's a whole lot of kind of internal strife as far as like civil strife. People kind of there's been a pushback on the government's kind of, I won't say harsh rule because that's not, I think it's just more religious based rule. I think they're trying to get away from that because the sanctions are really hitting their pockets. I don't think it's so much
yeah.
the people don't want the religion, it's the sanctions that are coming from around the world and the fact that they're not really willing to give, kind of concede on those things. They just had, like I said, they're in the middle of conflict right now with Israel. It's just a really tough time to lose your second most powerful person. They said that Ayatollah came out immediately on television and kind of just to comfort the entire country, pretty much let them all know that don't worry, things aren't going to change, everything's fine right now. Let's just pray for the president and and all the other. There's a few other officials on that plane as well that died. So
Yeah.
it's just strange. Out of the three planes that went down, that's the one that went down. It just that's a tough one right there. And I kind of knew from the beginning when I heard about it going down, they didn't have any real answers about it. I was hopeful that these guys made it out because you
Yeah,
don't
because
want to
the first report said they had,
survive.
like you said, they had a hard landing, and I mean,
Mhm.
when you crash, that's what you're hoping for, anyways, a hard landing.
Yeah, at most,
At most, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, And then they said recently there's no signs of life. So I
Yeah.
mean, it looks like it's you know, and I guess the Ayatollah has 4 sons, and his son is the second one. So I mean, it's a big developing thing going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, this is gonna be this is for the region. This is like a to not have a sure successor when it comes to Iran right now, and Iran being as strong as they are in the region right now. They're probably the most powerful characters in the region right there, besides Israel. There's no one else in there. They're kind of a counterbalance. You got to remember, Iran has Hezbollah. They have Hamas. These are alleged proxies of them, and they have the
Yeah.
Houthis as well that they actually fund. So this is it's a
I mean, it could be worse. Like if it was the Ayatollah that passed away and the president, then it'd be in flux of power and Iran would be unstable. But as
yeah,
long as they have
absolutely.
the Ayatollah, now he has to pick a successor,
He's
and it might,
85. He's
yeah,
85. He doesn't. I mean, I'm wondering, does he still even have the ear of the? I mean, as I'm sure he's still as strong, of course, as he ever has been. But this guy was supposed to be a second in command. This is a tough one. I don't want to dwell, but that's just kind of what I'm
yeah,
seeing. It almost creates an opportunity for a vacuum of power that probably wasn't there before.
yeah,
Like you were,
yeah. I mean, and we're gonna keep you updated, folks and ladies and gentlemen, as the more things develop. Also, here I got an article talking about California workers now want $30 minimum wage.
really.
Yes, yes. So it's saying not it's not mainly the fast food workers, it's
Hmm.
the workers that work at the hotels and LAX workers. They want to try to raise it up to, hold on, ladies and gentlemen, about 25, I think it was $23 by next year. Yeah, 23,
Oh,
yeah, $23 by next year, and then with plans to further increase from 29.50 to 29.50 by 2028. And the thing is, I know we were going to touch on it briefly, but the thing is, it's like when people are asking for $15 minimum wage, they pushed it off so far. By the time they got to $15 minimum wage, it didn't matter. Now we need 25.
yeah, absolutely. I think with them seeing the $20 minimum wage increase for fast food workers, it really did the trick for them. They may have been asking even before. It sounds like they've already had kind of a plan to increase their wages already. But at the end of the day, I mean, like I said, California is very expensive. And so I'm not sure where this stops at. And I know that just with raising wages as quickly as they are, people are going to raise prices. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen no matter what. It's going to get more expensive to create things and make things in that state. I know
Yeah,
this isn't
but
hitting
it's
everybody. Yeah,
yeah, it's excuse me, I hate to cut you off, but
no,
it's
you're good.
it's crazy because everything went up and the checks haven't gone up. So like I
Yeah,
keep saying, where's the money? Because somebody's getting paid and it's not us, folks.
yeah,
Somebody's getting paid.
yeah. No, I agree. Like I said, but it's a tough thing to be in business and those type of wage increases just to hit your bottom line immediately. It just doesn't. You're raising prices, but then you're also being taxed. It's just a lot that goes along with it. It's hard for me to say from one angle that they should just raise prices that quickly overnight.
But
That's a
I'm saying
hard thing
people,
for me
well,
to say.
people should have been prepared for that anyways. If your workers are asking for $20 an hour, like you see all these companies, they had to close immediately because they put it off. You could have just gradually paid your employees enough money where, like, okay, cool, the law, they're gonna put it on the ballot in a year. Give your workers a $2 raise, and
But
then
what was that? But
give them a
what
50
is
cent
that gonna?
raise.
Yeah,
Because what then you can actually plan for the increase instead of you losing all this amount of money all at once. You plan for it ahead of time. A lot of businesses could have done that, but they're like, nah, they think they're gonna be all right. They want to keep their costs low. But I mean,
that's
the
what
thing that
business is
bothers
about
me,
at the end of the day.
is this, and most folks will agree. You used to, even when I was young, and I don't want to sound like an old man because it's crazy, but even when you were young, you could work a fast food job 40 hours a week and afford a 1 bedroom at
Yeah, that's true.
least.
That's true. That's true. I
That's what gets
agree.
us all. It's like,
I think it's not so much. I don't mean, but it's not. It's
yeah,
not just them. What I mean, it's not just them. Us. It's us building more apartments. Us building more. We have to build. We're behind. What I mean, for as many people that kind of fall onto needing to rent every year because every time there's a new fresh batch of 18-year-olds. There's a new fresh batch of 24-year-olds too who are ready to move out and kind of get themselves a place. So we're just not creating enough. Our population is growing. We're not creating enough new spaces for them. We got to do that too as well. So we're not just putting the onus on, oh, you got to pay these people more, but these prices are raising fast as hell. We know it's not just their fault these prices are raising. Prices are raising because you got corporations coming in and buying real estate. And so they're raising the prices of all the properties around them. So if a person comes in and buys, say he buys a fourplex or whatever the case may be, and it costs him a little bit more, he's going to have to charge more in rent for everybody who lives in there. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So I had an occasion, like, just not to belabor the point, but I had an occasion where a person before me bought something for 47,000, but maybe I had to come in and buy it for 300,000. So he was able to sustain a person in rent at this amount, and I had to do something at a different amount. It just didn't make sense because my costs were higher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think something has to give, and once it does,
absolutely.
it's gonna be bad for the rich people. That's all I'm saying, because when the COVID was hitting, they was nice to us, wasn't they? Everyone stopped working, and they was like, no, here's some money. Don't worry about it. Here's some food stamps. Hey, don't worry about it. We're gonna make sure your unemployment has an extra couple dollars just in case you need it. And that's what messed them all up right then and there. Because when they did that, they showed everybody what your paycheck was supposed to look like. People are like, dang, I had money to pay my bills and survive and enjoy my life instead of maintain my life.
To answer this question, though, you have to look at it from this perspective. That was the government putting money on top of that paycheck. That wasn't your employer. That didn't come from your employer. That money came from the government. You know how they got that money? They printed that money. You can't just print money and then look at what's happening right now with China dumping our government bonds back on the market right now. Did you hear about? I mean, they just dumped a bunch of government of U.S. bonds on the market. That's basically our debt that they bought. Because every time you print money, someone has to buy the debt.
Yeah.
No matter what, we run deficits because people buy our debt. China went and said, you know what? Hey, you put this EVs on us. You just put this EV sanction on us. You don't want us to sell our EVs. Cool. We're going to dump some of your. They told us they were getting us back. There'll be repercussions for this. So they dumped government. United States government bonds. I think either them or Japan are the biggest holders of United States debt right now. They're the two biggest holders, foreign holders. Them in Japan, I believe it is.
So what does that mean when they dump that onto there? Please explain that to people.
Okay, so somebody got to buy it. Like, okay, so if they come and say I'm gonna dump 100 billion or 150 billion in United States debt on the market, someone has to come and buy that. Some foreign country has to come and purchase that debt. You can't just. I mean, basically, okay. Say we're running $1 trillion deficit. We're every 3 months we're basically running in debt $1 trillion. We don't just get to say. I know people say they're just gonna print the money. It doesn't work that way. Someone has to buy that from us because you're printing up treasury bonds. Pretty much, a treasury bond might have a 5-year yield, 2-year yield, 1-year yield, 10-year yield. Like it might come out in a year, and we got to pay it. That's what we have. That's why I was saying before. I know we have our budget, our interest payment every year is like $800 billion on the debt that we have. That's just the interest payment. We're not even paying off the debt. We're just paying an interest payment of that. So that interest payment is what that 1-year yield, 2-year yield, 3-year yield, 5-year, 10-year is. That's what that is. They might say, okay, in 1 year, this interest payment is due. In 5 years, this interest payment, or this interest, not the interest payment, but this debt is due pretty much in 5 years or 10 years. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I know I might be kind of jumbling.
No. A lot of people don't know about that. Like I didn't know about that. So they dump the bonds back onto the stock market. And how does that affect the stock market?
Someone has to go and buy those. You know what I mean? Because there needs to be a buyer. And people just aren't just saying, hey, I'm not sure how much they dump. Let's just say they dump 200 billion. That's a lot. I think they only have like a couple, like $1 billion or $1 trillion plus dollars, something like that, of our debt or something like that. So say it's 200 billion, right? Some other country has to come in with real money and buy those. Not a lot of countries have that kind of money just sitting around to come and buy that kind of debt. That's why you see our two biggest holders. China buys it from us because we keep on buying shit from them. It's like this is a revolving door with them. Yeah. We'll take the debt that they buy. We'll take the money the debt they buying from us and go and buy more shit from them. Here you go. It's like a revolving door. That's why it works for them to do that. A lot of other countries we don't have that kind of revolving door with. It doesn't work for them. They might want to help prop us up, but they can't. Motherfuckers can't just keep buying our debt. So that's just kind of what it is. They were to dump, like back in 2008, Russia asked them to dump our bonds on the market during the big crash of 2008. They're like, I want you to just dump all your government, because it made our dollar worthless. Pretty much nobody would have been able to buy it. There wouldn't have been anybody who could afford it at that time. And so that's the biggest thing they're doing, showing us, hey, we may not buy your debt anymore. We're going to dump some of this shit in the market. We may not keep on continuing to buy your debt, even though they make money off of it. They do. But shit, it may not be in their best interest to keep on doing that
Yeah.
as it is, So it's just one of those things. I'm just saying,
Now,
basically,
what could be the ramifications of that?
I mean, shit, man. That if we can't, they're dumping our bonds. If we can't sell our debt, pretty much. We can't afford to pay for shit that we have coming up. That's our obligations that we have. Say we want to buy more. We can't just fund things like, I know you don't like this, but like Ukraine, we
Yeah, yeah,
print it.
yeah.
That's money we print it. We can't afford to do all. We can't afford an $800 billion military at that point in time. If we can't spend, we can't deficit spend. We may not be able to fund basic liabilities like food stamps for people. That's all money. Like, everything that's in our budget comes from a lot of it. If we're running damn near $3 to $4 trillion in debt every 3 months, we're running a trillion. That's almost $4 trillion every year that people are buying of our debt. Somebody's buying of our debt. Sometimes it's the Fed too. They can buy. It's a lot of shit that goes on with that too.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money. I mean, of our yearly budget that we're having there, it could be anything. Might not. Social Security might not get paid. Something is, there's shit that could shake at that point
And
in
see,
time.
that's interesting. A lot of people don't know that. They're like, they'd be like, okay, we're giving another $1 billion to the Ukraine. And everyone's like, well, where's that money coming from? And now we know. That's it's some little food for thought there. Also, I want to touch on this topic. Maybe I want you to read about this. When it comes to the strategy of which phone is better, the Apple or the iPhone, I guess, or the not the Apple or the iPhone, excuse me, the Android or the Apple phone. Looks like Android has won.
Why do you say that?
Well, because the cobalt that they use inside the iPhone is mined by African slaves in the Congo.
That'd be okay. Let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
land.
Here,
Let
I
me
want you
land.
guys to look at this video really quick. Now, this video I'm showing you is actually of child labor. Here, about 40,000 children that are forced into slavery here in the Congo to to mine the metals that are in your iPhone.
The Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, with over 100 million people. The DRC has accused Apple of using blood minerals taken from conflict zones in the country. The DRC wants to stop. They have issued a formal cease and desist order to Apple about this. 33 minerals found in DRC go into making, I said this, I'm sorry, 3 minerals found in DRC go into making phones: tantalum, tin, and tungsten. They call these like the 3 T's. They pretty much go into making your iPhone. They have these people over here. Basically, they're forced. A lot of it's forced labor. Maybe not all of it's forced labor,
No,
but
it's
a lot of it's forced labor. They have basically this is being funded as a war. Rwanda has a group that they sent down there called they call them M23. They basically work out of the Kiva region, which is like eastern kind of Congo area, eastern Congo area. They work out of that region right there, where basically they're going back and forth from Rwanda over to Congo, and they're stealing people from Rwanda, bringing them over to Congo and stealing materials and going back into Rwanda to kind of sell them. This stuff is people don't know that Congo is actually a rich, mineral rich area. They should be wealthy.
It has the most, actually, it's the most mineral rich area in Africa, I believe. And I mean, in 2019, Apple and Google were named in a lawsuit over Congolese child combat or cobalt mining deaths. Because it says it was a landmark legal case has been launched against the world's largest tech. I think they just beat that case just now, a couple days ago. They said the children were killed or maimed while mining for cobalt used to power smartphones, laptops, electric cars, and the Guardians reveals Apple, Google, Dell, Microsoft, and Tesla have been named in the lawsuit as defendants, and I believe they just beat the lawsuit where they actually said it was okay. Do you have that one? Yeah,
I know there's a group out of Europe that this is a European group who are basically they say they're on the ground there. They're overseeing the mines, and they're saying that they're not complicit in this. We talk about blood diamonds down in South Africa and other places like that originally. Don't think other places in Africa. We were talking about blood diamonds. They know these mines are being mined by child labor, and a lot of it's forced slave labor, and they're still buying this material because this is
and it's it. Actually, I apologize. Here it is. On March, it was on March 5th this year. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia rules 3-0 in favor of Apple, Microsoft, and other tech companies over allegations of child labor in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's cobalt mining operation. The court said the companies are not liable for the knowingly benefiting from aiding and abetting the cruel and brutal use of young children in the Democratic Republic of Congo to mine cobalt. The court said that buying the cobalt in the global supply chain does not amount to participation in the ventures under federal law protecting children.
They said that with this whole thing has been going on, you got countries like Rwanda, which we've seen where Rwanda's been before. They were in civil war themselves. I'm sure that Rwanda's probably getting weapons from other countries to keep this conflict going. They said that over 15 million people have died during this conflict. I mean, this country's been at consistent civil war. This is what they do. They go and make sure to keep the country at war. They don't want to stabilize it because they understand the price of this stuff. But if they can keep this material not more under the Congolese rule underneath their thumb, this country could be a mineral rich country. They could be, the next quasi Russia.
And America don't care. They don't care. They don't care how you get it. It's all about if you got it. Because they're like, hey, we know that slave children are mining these mines so you can have your Apple iPhone every year. But hey, as long as I don't have to see it.
It's electric vehicles. It's probably a bunch of chips and things like that we use for a lot of different things. You have to really look at it like that. It's like America could go about things in a much smarter manner than what we do. I understand we can't get embroiled in every conflict because these people you're dealing with, at the end of the day, you're still dealing with quasi warlords and things like that going on there, because if there's billions of dollars at stake, there's gonna be some people that are willing to get their hands dirty to make it happen. But this is like we've talked about sweatshops, we've talked about blood diamonds, but we're not talking about. I've heard little bits and pieces, but people are not discussing this enough for really what's going on there.
No, not enough.
These children are really in these mines. I mean, they got little 5, 6,
funded
7,
by
8
American
kids.
Funded by American companies.
Absolutely.
Remember that. They never ended slavery. They just made it so you could take them and if you put somebody in jail, you can use them as a slave. It's in the Constitution. And now they have it where they got American companies paying for labor slavery in Africa. So as you reflect on that, it makes you think you need to look at yourselves and look at your phones and be like, yo, what cost is this coming from?
Because this is coming from the cost of your people. Who I understand that we are Black Americans, but at the end of the day, this is where we come from. This is where a lot of us were brought from, was Africa. They've kept this continent in consistent turmoil because they understand that the minerals there, they can enrich themselves with. They don't feel like they need to give anything back. But at the same time, it's going to take African countries to stand up for themselves as well, too, and kind of coalesce to kind of bring this thing to a halt, because there's so much potential in these countries. You look at the Democratic Republic of Congo, people wouldn't believe that country could be one of the wealthiest countries in the world right now. But at the end of the day, they got trillions of dollars worth of this stuff in the ground. Trillions.
Yeah. Well, hey, let us know what you think in the comments. Like, listen, subscribe, and share. This is Uncommon Courtesy.